Hi, thanks for joining me for another video. I am back in Automobilista 2 because we have just got a brand new update in the form of GT3 and GT4 cars. As well as that, we have temporary free access to the Nurburgring GP circuit. I believe this is going to become DLC once they finish the Nordschleife versions, as well as whatever else they're doing. I don't know, but it will become DLC eventually. So I want to take one of these GT3 cars around this circuit just for a little race to see what the car's like in a kind of race situation. So I'm going to throw it on there with a load of AI and see what happens. As well as that, I think there's been some upgrades to the force feedback system, so I'm hoping to be able to comment on that as well for you. And I've got a little new addition to my rig here. My wife obviously thinks I smell because she decided that I needed an air freshener for my pretend car. So this hula girl here was her idea, and it might serve as a really good indication of the amount of force feedback that's coming through the wheels, so we'll see. Anyway, stay tuned and let's see what happens. Okay, so let's have a look at the force feedback stuff first of all. So we've got a couple of extra sliders here. So the FX, I'm not quite sure what that one does actually. I'm going to leave it alone. Damping though is the sort of major new one, because they've recommended that with wheels, particularly like the TD1 here, turn the damping off on the wheel and use the damping in the game, because this will scale with each car. So that's what I've done. So we've got a couple of extra things to play with there, which is pretty cool. I'm going to leave it all sort of stock for now, just to see what the car feels like. Let's have a look at the cars themselves. So I've already been mucking about with them. So we've got the McLaren 720S GT3, the Porsche 911 GT3R, and the Mercedes AMG GT3. Got some GT4 cars as well. So the McLaren 570S GT4, the Camaro GT4R, and the Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport MR. So these are all pretty awesome looking machines. I'm going to go with the GT3 for now. I'm going to stick with the McLaren because that's the car I like to drive in ACC, so I should be able to draw some direct comparisons. And of course we've got the Nurburgring GP circuit. So I've got a couple of different layouts. I think this one is the fast chicane. Yeah, so if we look over here, you can't see actually my cursor because I'm just on record, but over in the top sort of area of the circuit here, we can see that there's the fast chicane layout, so we'll use that. Now AI, set the AI up. I don't want 120 skill level on the AI. No idea what they're going to be like with this car, so I'm going to dial it back to 100. 19 cars plus myself. I'm going to set myself to a random position, and I'm going to set to a standing start because I want to see what these guys are like off the line. Start time is 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll do 3 laps. Let's go. Setup wise, I'm just going to leave it as default. Let's go.
Okay, Jim. Nice and neat. Stay out of trouble. Go!
No, it's a bit sluggish off the line. AI are just battering the crap out of each other. Don't know what traction control or ABS settings I've got on this actually at the moment. I'll have a look now when I can. Force feedback feels pretty good. Nice and weighty. A little bit spongy toward the centre.
We can build something from this.
Car sounds a little bit less involved in the ACC version. There doesn't seem to be any kind of gearbox whine. I think that's quite pronounced in the Seven Corsa.
Right.
The AI are just really determined to kill each other. This drive's real nice, actually. That Porsche is just ramming the shit out of that Mercedes in front. I don't know how they don't spin each other out all the time. A little bit of back end drift on the exit of that chicane back there. I've noticed the interior is missing
Left side.
the safety nets as well.
Clear left.
2 to go.
On your left.
Just get rid of that Porsche because he's a
Still
liability, I think.
Clear left.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of resistance as you increase the lock on the steering. It's fairly nice, actually, I think. But then it doesn't feel very, like when the back end was starting to come around then, I couldn't feel it as sharply as I can usually. How else best to really describe that? Usually get a little bit more feedback saying that, you know, you're starting to go wrong here. Oh dear.
Right side. Clear right.
That was a fuck up. We're now in
Clear right.
square last place. That's the problem with this sort of stuff, is you make one little mistake and that's it, your whole race is done for. I'm going to carry on anyway, just in the interest of reporting on this car. So interior wise, yeah, it looks really nice in here. As I said, it's just there seems to be, I think the nets themselves are missing. Usually have big safety nets in GT3 cars. Again, I'm just using ACC as a basis for that information, assuming that they have done their homework, and you know, I mean, that's, from what I can gather, a really realistic sim for that particular series.
The leader has just done a 159.22.
It's actually nice being able to look at the display in the car and being able to read everything.
One more lap to go. Okay, Jim, we're halfway home. We think about 2 laps remaining on this tank.
Let's just drift around that corner. Wow, it really just wants to go all the way around. As soon as you start losing the rear end, there's just no chance of getting it back. Well, maybe for a better driver there would be, but not for me.
Just gone out of track limits.
At this point, crew chief, I don't care. Yes, I think in the hands of a more capable driver, this could be a pretty
Your
nice.
front brakes are pretty hot now.
A pretty nice car to drive. However, in my inept paws, spin outs and stuff like that is inevitable. I could probably tune it up.
The car in front is boundy.
The car in front is miles away. The track's certainly good as well. It's feels pretty accurate according to what I'm used to. Although I think my braking point for this corner is a little bit messed up. You can.
The gap to boundy ahead is now 6.6.
I'm finding that I can feel when the grip's going on the front a little bit better.
Okay, it's over. Bloody awful result, mate.
I love the disappointment in his voice. Anyway, yeah, that was a bloody awful result, but anyway, it doesn't matter because that's not the purpose of the race really. I just wanted to get a general feel for the car. Quite interesting. I think that there's a few things missing in my mind. Certainly the soundscape seems to be missing, the straight cut whine of the gearbox, and there's a couple of sort of visual details inside the car missing, which you probably wouldn't notice if you weren't in VR. But certainly, yeah, it drives nice. As I said, in more capable hands, it would probably be a better weapon. Let's try something else. Right, so I'm not a massive fan of porkers. So I'm thinking I'm going to hit the Mercedes next. Alright, so I'm in 6th place this time.
Be ready, we're about to go green.
Let's just see what not AI, traction control I've got set up. So I've got low traction control and low ABS as well. Wow, the steering's a lot heavier with this car than it is on the McLaren. I think it might be simulating that big engine up front. Sounds great, this thing does as well.
Okay, Jim, decent start. We can build something from here.
This car feels amazing, actually. Again, there's a Porsche and a Merc having a bit of a battle up front. Yeah, the sounds on this is great. You can that hefty V8 AMG lump just rumbling away, and you can hear the whine of the gearbox as well. But the steering is quite different on this. It's got a lot more weight to it, and it requires a lot more force to get it to change direction. The AI are very skittish though. They're moving around quite a lot. Force feedback feels immensely
right,
smooth though.
right.
I love the way the bonnet jiggles around as well as you're moving over curbs. There's a lot of extra detail in these car models.
P5, 2 laps left.
Yeah, it's a real effort to get it around there. Would help if I was a bit better at setting my car up for the entry to corners, which I'm totally useless at, quite frankly. It's one of the reasons why I'm so flipping slow. Interior wise as well, it's quite nice in here. Again, the nets are missing. I would have expected there to be safety nets left and right. I think I fucked that up. Yeah.
You're outside track limits there.
I know. This car actually feels more stable than the McLaren. I feel like I can throw it around corners a lot more. Still not quite sure on the gearing. The position here in VR
The
feels
leader has just done
very good as well.
159.48. Okay, Jim, that's half distance. Fuel levels are fine. Last lap. The guy behind has just done a 159.62.
Yeah, it seems to want to push wide far more readily than going around at the rear, which is actually the opposite to what I thought this car would be like. But then, again, you got the weight of the engine up front, which would cause
P5.
that
Your
characteristic, I
brake
suppose.
temperatures are pretty high.
I think this has got some kind of downshift protection as well, because I can't flick down the gears as quickly as I'd like to.
The next car is Thompson. The gap to Nabutovsky behind is now 1.5 seconds.
I think the AI are quite unruly with these cars. They seem to thrash around quite a lot. A little bit of oversteer then, coming up that chicane. Still on gear, it's too short for first gear.
P5. Okay, that's the end. Good finish, mate. Well done.
So that was better. I felt that this car has got a lot more feedback, a lot more stability than the McLaren did. I actually really enjoyed driving that. That was quite a nice feeling thing. Very different in the force feedback though. It actually feels like a very different machine. Interesting. Right, so I'm aware that the video is probably getting a little bit lengthy right now, so we'll give the Porsche the same treatment. Okie doke, so this time around I'm in 10th position. I just realised I didn't alter the fuel load on the last race. Maybe that was the problem I had with the McLaren. I made it too light. Is that a thing? Probably not. Anyway, let's just crack on. I'll leave the fuel as it is. See what the Porsche is like. Ah, we got nets in this thing.
Green, let's go, let's go.
So again, the AI are a little sluggish off the line. A lot of nice noise out of this car, gearbox wise. Feels a lot lighter than the Mercedes. It's got that sort of typical Porsche note to it. The
Nice one, Jim.
engine's
Good start.
deceptively low rev. Well, it doesn't rev low, it revs high, but it doesn't sound like it does. So we're actually hitting like 8.5, 9,000 RPM before I change up gear, but it just does not sound like it's revving all that high. It's one of the things I never really liked about the Porsches. Ease off through there. There's a lot more kick through this car, the steering wise, when I'm rolling over the curbs. So I've got to keep my eye on the dashboard for when to change gear, because the engine note just doesn't give me the information that I'm expecting. So we've got a lot more detail in the interior of this car. I know I'm
P6,
flashing my head around
2
quite a
laps
lot, but
remaining.
we're pushing wide slightly. It might just be, again, me failing to get the car set up correctly. A little bit of rotation coming to there then.
Okay, Jim, the next car is Nabutovsky.
Car left. Hold your line. Still there.
Oh, wow. The AI are really just assholes, aren't they? I mean, that's a bit of an issue. I mean, there was really, obviously the AI wanted to come over to my line, but instead of doing it gradually or making that kind of indication, it just virtually teleported in front of me. So I think there's some work to do with the AI with these cars. You can see them just darting left and right up ahead, just trying to get into position for the corners, but they're not doing it in any kind of smooth, consistent manner. That was first gear, that wasn't the right one.
The leader's just done a 2:00.7 seconds. You're halfway home, got plenty of fuel, one more lap to go. Your front brakes are getting pretty hot.
Seems like the standard setup boils the front brakes. The thing I'm noticing that's missing out of these cars is the bars that usually go up the windscreen. I'm not quite sure what purpose they serve. I'm sure it's for safety. I'm thinking that the front windscreens are actually some kind of plexiglass rather than actual glass, so they've got these strengthening bars up the middle. I could be wrong. It's just what I think they could logically serve there, but they don't appear to be present on these
Ezekiel
cars.
is closing you down. The gap has come down to 0.6.
Okay, they might not exist on the real life counterparts of these cars. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. It's just something I'm used to seeing in ACC. And driving position in this car feels very natural for VR. The steering wheel feels exactly where my physical hands are. So much movement with this car over the curbs. In terms of the wheel,
Sixth place. There's the finish. Well done.
wow, that's actually quite involving. Certainly a lot more energy coming through the steering of this car compared to the others. Very, very interesting. I like it. Okay, so a little bit of a conclusion. I think the GT3 cars are an awesome addition to this game. I particularly am impressed with how different they feel. The Mercedes felt really heavy and planted and just solid. Complete contrast. The Porsche felt light and precise, and it really gave you that impression through the steering. You know, they roll over curves and you get a lot sharper impact through the steering. The only car I was slightly underwhelmed by was the McLaren. Felt a little bit vague and spongy, and to be honest with you, I didn't have a clue what the rear end of it was doing. It might just be me being a bit shit. It might be the fact that Risa haven't finished dialing in all the default setups yet. It's probably the me being a bit shit reason, really. Anyway, I'll leave the video there. I'm going to do the GT4s in a different video some point in the future. If you liked that, then give me a thumbs up, and I shall see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Ta-ta.